In Sweden, allegedly a man upset that his girlfriend left him showed up at her apartment and begins using a ladder to break in.
Tror du kommer upp här? Tror du kommer upp här? Du kommer inte upp här. Du kommer inte in i mitt hem.
But apparently they are too afraid to defend themselves.
En stor köttkniv. Såg ni det? Du, han krossar glaset med en sten.
Now, the only article I could find on this story was in Swedish, which, roughly translated by Google, states that an Algerian migrant showed up at his ex-girlfriend's house where she lived with a friend, where the ex-boyfriend injured the friend as the ex-boyfriend shouted threats. Now, the ex has been sentenced to prison for 2 years, deportation, and cannot return to Sweden for 10 years. But this is not the first time he was sentenced for deportation, as the first time was not enforced, as he was able to stay and commit several more crimes in the last few years. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this story, but the first thing on everybody's mind is, why did they just allow the ex-boyfriend to climb onto their balcony? And I think the simple answer is absolutely zero real-world experience. Someone that has never actually dealt with a completely unreasonable person will never actually know when or how to take the measures necessary to protect themselves. And it's truly tragic because yes, it appears places like Sweden are experiencing a sudden influx of crime, but I see the same mentality in Los Angeles as well. As an insane individual will commit crime, the police will respond with an amount of force larger than the criminal, but these coddled by society citizens cry, "You didn't have to take it that far." And sadly, those are the same people that end up having a deranged ex climb their balcony to throw a brick through their window and end their existence. And on the migration front, I've covered how Europe seems to be doing very little, and also in the US, how the White House also wants to look the other way. Now, this is a very sensitive subject to talk about, as the corporate dinosaur media won't address the real issues, because they'll decry kids in cages when it's convenient, but ignore the mass movement of exclusively military-age males that is occurring every single day. Where not every person seen migrating into the country is going to end up throwing a brick through their ex's window, but that doesn't mean we should eliminate all the rules because what they like to call social justice. I myself wasn't born in this country, and the other guys you've seen with me on this channel are also immigrants themselves, but most Americans would align themselves with us, people from Asia, Africa, and South America, over people born in the US that somehow align themselves with socialism and dismantling our justice system. Because it's not about color like the left tries to divide us by, it's about sharing traditional American values. Values like self-defense, as I truly believe 2A would have saved those Swedes immediately. But ultra-liberal, Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post questions, why do Americans want 2A? Reporting that people cite safety, but how most people couldn't answer what they needed safety from, where they go on to report that most Americans believe crime is increasing, but say reality is more complicated, linking to a Politico article about the geography of gun crime, where they claim the Deep South is where it's the worst, with bizarre borders like New France and Yankeedom. So I've heard of gerrymandering before, but this is nuts. In terms of juking the stats, it appears they cut the New Orleans area into one tiny district, but cleverly, they spread deaths from Detroit into North Dakota all the way to Maine, which conveniently just adds Chicago stats to Midlands, which has the Dakotas to Colorado all the way through parts of Pennsylvania to New Jersey. So this is how the Washington Post somehow dismisses the idea that Americans want 2A to protect themselves, by citing an article that says, hey look, Los Angeles is statistically safe when you fold it into rural parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Colorado. And they're not even going by the American nations map, because it appears they're also dividing the far west into 2 parts and moving Chicago from Yankeedom to the Midlands, apparently just to prove their point. But enough about their idiot map and news articles, because at the end of the day, they'll never be able to rewrite reality. Bidenomics sounds great until you can't afford eggs. Open borders policies sound liberating until Sweden has over 61 no-go zones controlled by criminal gangs. Oh, I'm sorry, they rebranded them as vulnerable areas. So I just want to know, how do I obtain these Harry Potter levels of liberal journalism? Like, if my girlfriend finds another woman in my bed, can I just say, this isn't cheating, I've rebranded it as domestic diversity. And the only reason you don't like her is because she's different than you, and I didn't realize I was dating a MAGA fascist. And I say that as a joke, but it's honestly what the corporate dinosaur media does every single day. So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the grim reality of what our world has become, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video about the invasion in Spain that they don't want you to know about.